One of the first thing you want to do when you have to modify the sky under the render is to clean up the horizon. Now, this is not mandatory, but if you want to do that, one simple way is to select a brush, and you need a layer on top of the actual sky. And the brush has to be very, soft brush, so no hard edges. And you want something quite big. Now, to increase or decrease the size of the brush, what I'm doing is I'm pressing Alt, the Alt key on the keyboard, and at the same time, I'm clicking the right mouse button and dragging the mouse left to right. And as you can see, the diameter of the brush changed. So this is a quick way to do it. I'm using the mouse right now because I don't have to do anything very, difficult, every very customized. I mean, no drawing, just a straight line. So what I'm doing now on this top layer is, with the brush selected, I'm pressing Alt, just Alt, and I select one of the colors here close to the horizon, okay? So this kind of pink, this desaturated pink. And then pressing Shift, I just go here with the mouse. You see, I don't have the mouse on top of the, the center of the mouse is not on the horizon, I would say, but is a little bit lower, because I know that the last part of the tip of the brush will basically blend better with the background in this case, okay? So I'm not covering some sky. I just want to cover this area here. So I press Shift, and then when you press Shift and you use the brush, you can do straight lines. So I press Shift and I go from here all the way down, you see, on the left. And I can go a little bit, a couple of times, maybe more, to cover, the horizon. And once you're done with that, you can use the the selection, the move tool, I would say. And also pressing Shift, you can drag it down until you see that you are basically covering just the things you want to cover. Now, remember one thing: when you have the sky, when you have any sky, and there is a sun in the sky, okay, something happens. So basically, just to explain this in a very simple way, the sky is made of two different gradients, okay? You have one gradient that goes from the horizon, okay, to the top. And basically, this gradient will simulate the sky, okay, the sky power. If here you have basically, I don't know, very, strong blue. Here you have normally something that looks more like gray, okay? And then, because of the sun, okay, let's say that the sun is here, suppose the sun is here, then you have a radial gradient that increase the amount of brightness coming from that point, and also gives you a little bit more of color, I would say. So you have, because the sky is basically made by these two gradients. And so because we know that the sun is here, now, if we hide the render, you see this color is cool, is okay for the right part of the picture, but it's not all right for this part, because as you can see here, this should be a little bit less saturated and also darker, okay? So what you do here to make a proper job, if you want, is to add an adjustment, curves, and you attach the adjustment to the painted layer, pressing Alt and clicking in it here in the middle. So this now is attached only to this layer and is working only on this layer. And then we get down with the, you see the brightness until we find something that looks like here. Now, this is not correct anymore here, but don't worry, because once you find the value you want on the left, you can use the gradient tool. You can click on the mask, and automatically you get black and white because these are the only colors. I mean, you can paint on a mask. You can also have grays, but by the way, by default it gets black and white. You can also invert these two values with the X on the keyboard. But anyway, we want this new effects only on the left, and so I'm pressing Shift and I'm dragging my gradients all the way to the right. And as you can see now, I have my original pink on the right and my new desaturated, darker pink on the left. Now remember that a curve normally goes into luminosity, otherwise it changes also the colors. In this case, in this particular case, I can keep it normal because making it darker, it also desaturates, which is something I want to do. But in case you don't want to, you can do this in 2 steps. So you can keep the curve into luminosity, and then you need hue saturation attached to the previous adjustments. And so you need to go down with the saturation, you see. And now this is a little bit better, but this is completely off, you see. And so we need again to make a gradient that keeps this desaturation only on the left. And as you can see now, it's working a little bit better. We can take this layer and we can make it smaller, pressing Shift and dragging it up a little bit, you see, and you just, as much as you need, I would say. You can also distort this a little bit better. Okay, that's it. And then you can restore the render on top, and you will see that everything is working fine. And nobody stops you to put a mask also on this layer here, and then you can choose to do a couple of things. You can invert the mask to dissolve the effects, and so you can restore the effects a little bit like I would say in a more detailed way, you see, with another brush, and that's it. Or you can just have the new again the white mask and erase the effect where you don't want it, so with a black color on the mask. But you see, this is a little bit less precise, I would say. It's a little bit harder to get the right result painting black. That's why I always tell you, once you have an effect that you like, put a mask, paint it black. Now I'm pressing Shift F5 to, get the fill command. I put black in here. So the mask is completely black, the effect is gone, and then I paint with a white color only what I want. So I'm getting a very soft brush. And as you can see, if I have to cover this area, I'm not painting over this area, but I'm painting a little bit under this area. You see, so only the last part of the tip will basically, get you the effect. This looks like a little bit like fog, which is, this is another way to make fog on the distance. And, you can also go down with your opacity here and, to have more control. The only thing you need to avoid is to get the end result with just one brush stroke, okay? Go over and over with a very soft brush with a low opacity, and you will get a very nice result, which is less strong than the previous one, and it's more realistic, it's more kind of natural, okay? So now that we have a base, okay, we can maybe add some other photos in there from our collection. Maybe you need some more clouds close to the horizon, I don't know. We can just make an example. So let's see how to do that. So let's say we want to use one of our photos from the collection, from the RAW format. And as you can see, this one, for example, is a 16-bit image. Now, what to do? You need to be aware that when you import an image from the outside and is a 16-bit image, Photoshop will open the Camera Raw plugin. And by default, if it's the first time you use it, the Camera Raw plugin will just convert the image or try to convert your 16-bit image into a 8-bit image. And that's, terrible, okay? So what to do? Once you drag and drop the image into your file, then the Camera Raw plugin will start, as you can see here. And you need to be sure that down here, you find 16-bit written down there, okay? If you find like 8-bit, that's a problem. So what you need to do if you find 8-bit, which is probably what will happen to you soon, you click in there, and then this Camera Raw Preferences tab will open, and here you need to put 16-bit. And in this way, your image will not lose any information. You press OK, and then you check here again, you double check, you should see 16, and then you can, just open the image, okay? And that's it, you press OK, and the image will be dragging into the file. Be aware that, the image will be placed exactly where is your mouse selection, where is your layer selection. So you see, now we have a problem. We put the new image in between these layers, and now all these adjustments will be connected to this new layer, which is not right. So what to do? Don't panic. Okay, don't panic. You can just press Alt and scale up the image as much as you need, as much as you want, or you can just press Enter on the keyboard. Okay, and then you can just take the 2 layer here with the Shift and drag them down onto the previous layer and press Alt again and click to attach them to the original layer, to the one they should be attached to. Okay. And here we go with the new sky. And for example, here, I love this clouds there. And so maybe I want to keep them, close there to the horizon. I don't know if in the future I'm going to cover them with some vegetation, but at least I have something cool. So what to do? We need to search for the right blending mode now. Because of these clouds are pretty bright, and I don't know if they're brighter than the background, I don't know. We can just, take this blending mode to lighten, for example. And as you can see, some of the cloud will reveal itself because these areas are brighter than the pixel behind them, actually. And now I can do a couple of things. I have a couple of choices here. I can make the background darker, or I can make this photo brighter to see more of it. Okay. Now in this case, just because this photo is, already bright in this area, I can just choose to go and add an adjustment on the bottom, which is not linked to anything now, because I want to affect the whole thing, the whole background. And I can go down a little bit with the, with the brightness, with the white values. And of course, I don't want these to affect the whole sky. So I'm going, with the gradients, something like this. And then I can check it twice. Okay, this difference is not that much. And then I can just go back on my new clouds, add mask, invert the mask. So you see I have the selection on the mask. I press Ctrl-I to invert that. And then I paint white only where I want it, maybe with a very low opacity. And I start painting, you see, and some cloud will probably eventually arrive, okay? And then I like this one, and I can go down with the opacity a little bit, see? So I match the brightness. And I can tell that these clouds are a little bit more like yellow than this one. So I can just add a color balance on top of this new clouds, attach the color balance to the clouds itself, and then add a little bit of, a little bit of red, maybe a little bit of yellow, and that's it. So I have this, I like this one. I don't care about this, probably cover them up. But, this is just one way to do it. I can, just decide to delete them with a black brush on the mask, okay? So, you know, this is just a little bit of a cloud there. Not such a, you know, a big difference. But, you know, you don't have to do everything in one shot. You need to do little by little, you know, small details by small details. And, you know, after 10 minutes, you will eventually get something new. And that's it. Okay. And, you know, remember that you are not forced to keep 100% opacity. You can just go down and, you know, just get a glimpse of it. It's enough. Okay, it's just an idea. So this is the way. Okay, this is the way. You place a photo, you change the blending mode to see if it could work. If it doesn't work, you can modify, you know, the brightness of the previous layers or the brightness of the new layer. And once you see something that you like, you may like, then it's about masking. Okay, it's about masking. You had a mask, you invert the mask, and you paint white only where you want to keep the content. And still, if there's something to fix, you can add some adjustment to change, you know, the color maybe slightly. And you also have the opacity, which can go down if the result is too strong and too visible. Okay. And so anyway, we are talking about skies, you know, and things close to the horizon can be very far from you. So you can have a lot of dust in the air in between you and that object. And so remember always that everything in the sky, everything on the ground will eventually got this color here when, you know, they get to the horizon. So this color is not just a color, but it's also a value. So if you have a black and white or a desaturation on top of everything, you see, sooner or later, everything will become of this value here. Okay. And so if you have something like these clouds, which are probably too strong, if you keep them 100% opacity, 100% visible, you can just go down with the opacity. And you see, this gray here should be brighter than the gray here because these clouds are closer to you than these ones. So it's very important to understand the amount of brightness that you need when you go far away. Okay, and that's it. That's just an example. Then we can just hide the hue saturation, and you see they kind of match. Probably this is too bright, still too bright, so I can just go down with the opacity, or maybe I can go down with a curve. But because this is in lighten mode, it will basically is going to do the same result, because the lighting will show something if it's brighter than the pixel below. So I mean, this, or in this case, or go down with the opacity, is the same thing. Okay, that's it. Remember what I told you in the previous video, try to not do a massive post-production on the sky folder, because you need to maintain as much as color as you can, as much as value as you can. And if you need, then when you get to the finalization, you know, with the other things, with the building, with the foreground, you know, when you're close to the end of the post-production, then you can go back on the sky folder. Maybe because you want to get a little bit more of realism, and you have the correct exposure on the building, you may want to add a curve and to make the whole sky a little bit brighter, because you know that when you have the right exposure on the building, probably the sky is a little bit overexposed. But you know, please don't do it too soon, otherwise you will not get as many informations as you may get. Okay, so this is something you can do at the end if you feel like the sky is too dark. Okay, and always look at photos, always look at real references to understand how the sky reacts on a certain time of the day, if you have, of course, the right exposure on the building, and so on. Okay, normally the sky is always a little bit brighter than what you should expect, and that's because it's mainly, and it's a sort of giant lamp. Okay, we get some light from the sky anyway, even if it's night. Okay, maybe because of the moon, maybe because of clouds that basically scatter lights everywhere. So the most important thing that you may remember is to look at references, look at real photos, and then just match the amount of brightness of a real photo on your render. Okay, but always do it at the end. Okay, so you do it once. That's the trick behind this, to not lose informations.